There was a certain elegance in the way Ambassador Harlan Rowe poured tea, elbows slightly raised, wrist gentle, the porcelain cup never quite clinking against the saucer. The sound of boiling water and quiet diplomatic doom. He made no effort to rush. He rarely did. Around him, the high chamber of the Galactic Council shimmered in chrome and arrogance. 17 species presided. 17 assumptions made. Rowe counted each one between sips. This proceeding, droned Magistrate Yelsakra, the Commandant representative, is not a matter of species or sentiment, but of security. The accused are saboteurs. They are human. The law does not make exceptions for juveniles. Yelsakra's tongue flickered once, a gleaming black whip behind rows of ceremonial teeth. The council chamber pulsed with ambient light, too bright for comfort, too dim for comfort. That was how aliens liked it. Rowe blinked slowly and reached for a sugar cube. "Begging the court's pardon," he said in his usual southern drawl, "but where I come from, we don't hang children unless they insult the family biscuits. And even then, we ask politely first." A few nervous chuffs passed among the delegates. The Gelari delegate, pink and soft, perpetually offended, made a sound like a sigh through jelly. "You find humor in this situation, Ambassador?" "No, ma'am. I find humor in you calling it a situation. That's a word folk use when they want to downplay the weight of something. Like saying rainfall when the whole damn river's rising." Silence. His teacup clicked softly on the table. Rowe didn't look up. He preferred they stew. The center hollow platform shifted, revealing two small figures behind a thin blue containment field. A girl, perhaps 10, dark hair cropped short, her dress still stained from dust. A boy younger, 7 maybe, eyes too large, too still. Both wore standard civilian tags. Both human. The accused, Yelsakra, intoned, were found within restricted data territory on Haurix 9. Evidence suggests active tampering with core file structures. The energy discharge alone could have destroyed a quarter of the orbital grid. They were not detained. They surrendered. Rowe finally looked up. Course they surrendered. They're kids. And humans teach manners early. Their manners included overriding 3 encrypted locks. Another voice cut in. Tall, spindly, with skin like rusted bronze, Counselor Sunval of the Shintari. Children do not accomplish such things by accident. Nor do adults commit to war crimes by habit, Rowe replied evenly, but that hasn't slowed y'all down none. The weight in the room shifted. The line had been crossed, and Rowe knew it. Still he smiled. Slow. Painless. Death by charm. The Gelari delegate's gills flared. "You imply this court is unjust." "I don't imply, ma'am. I'm saying it plain." "Ambassador," Sunval said slowly, "Earth signed the Pax Accord." "We did." "You swore to obey the Empire's protocols." "We did." "And you would challenge this tribunal?" Rowe took another sip. Then another. "No," he said at last. "I ain't here to challenge. I'm here to offer y'all one last choice. Just one. You hang them kids, or you don't. You do, and you'll see how polite a hurricane can be before it tears off your roof." The chamber erupted, voices flaring in 17 dialects, many of them untranslatable, without emotional overlay. Rowe listened, patient, unblinking. Somewhere in the storm, Yelsakra bellowed above the rest. "This is a threat." "Bless your heart," Rowe murmured. "I said it clear so y'all wouldn't have to guess." The gavel slammed, a sound like thunder underwater. The children flinched. Rowe didn't. "Deliberation will proceed regardless," Yelsakra snapped. "You may await your appeal request in the outer chamber. Guards will escort." "I'll stay." Rowe smiled like a blade tucked in a napkin. "If it pleases the court. I do like seeing bad decisions born in real time." A few guards moved forward. One raised a claw. Rowe simply looked at him. Not harsh. Not loud. Just looked. The guard paused. Thought better of it. The trial resumed. The evidence was airtight. Of course it was. It had been tailored that way. The humans had entered a secure zone. The energy readings were dangerous. The security logs caught 2 small figures in the act. The prosecution never mentioned that the logs had gaps. that the guards had been absent, or that the entire planetary defense system had mysteriously reset hours before. Details. Details weren't useful to courts with verdicts pre-written. By the third hour, Rowe had counted how many judges yawned. 4. By the fourth, he had located every external security blind spot and silently signaled 3 satellites. By the fifth, the verdict was passed. Guilty, Sakra announced. Sentencing. Execution by kinetic loop. 48 planetary hours. The room froze, and Rowe stood. He didn't move fast. Not an inch too quick. Just slowly buttoned his coat and adjusted his collar. There was a kind of reverence in it, as if dressing for church or burial. He stepped forward once, past the formal line, past the echo line. The guards did not stop him. Understood, he said, smiling still. Then the clock starts now. Sakra narrowed his eyes. Meaning. Rowe turned, walking toward the exit. He stopped halfway, glanced back. Good luck, he said. Y'all need it. Then he left. Back in the diplomatic suite, Rowe removed his coat, placed it over a chair, and lit a small flame under the kettle. The assistant droid watched him, nervous, unsure. They sentenced the children, the droid said. I was there. What will Earth do? Rowe smiled. It didn't reach his eyes. We'll offer diplomacy. A pause. Then, and if diplomacy fails? He poured boiling water over new leaves. We've got older methods. In orbit above the Imperial Council world, a lone human satellite repositioned. Not a weapon, not a scanner, a broadcaster. It began transmitting music, old, soft jazz in human standard, lightly distorted to mimic an antique record player. No words, just mood. Across 17 planets, the music played. Aliens searched their systems for the source. Couldn't find it. A single file attached itself to every galactic relay. This message courtesy of Ambassador Rowe. The countdown has begun. 48 hours. Return the children, or we will assume y'all lost them, and go look into it. Back in the chamber, the council buzzed with confusion and fury. He can't do this, the Shantari delegate hissed. He's bluffing, another said. They wouldn't sacrifice peace over 2 juveniles. Then came the final update. 2 moons, both Imperial supply hubs, had gone dark. No explosions. No signals. No debris. Just dark. Counselor Sakra's claws dug into the polished metal of his chair. Find him, he snarled. Bring Rowe back here. But Rowe wasn't hiding. He was back in his chamber, pouring tea. Again. Still. He looked up as the guards entered. You folks want sugar, he asked. Or just more poor judgment? Sakra stormed in behind them. You've attacked Imperial property. Now, Rowe said. You said diplomacy was ongoing. I'm just giving y'all the chance to reconsider. You threatened us. No, sir. I promised you'd need luck. Y'all chose rope over reason. And where I come from, we don't cotton to folk threatening our young uns. We will retaliate. Already have. Rowe stood. Didn't even scratch the surface. Sakra leaned forward, breath hissing. You humans are animals. And y'all are bureaucrats who made a very poor call. He straightened, coat falling over his shoulders like armor. This is your one and only bridge back to peace. Return the children. And if we don't? Rowe's smile vanished. He said, calm as quiet thunder, then you'll finally see what it looks like when Earth stops smiling. And with that, he left the room. The chamber lights dimmed. The transmission lines buzzed. Somewhere deep in the Imperial Relay Network, an old Earth phrase appeared on screens never meant to process standard script. T-47 hours, 13 minutes, and 8 seconds. Tea was served. Patience expires next. Outside, the stars did not flicker. But for the first time in 300 years, the Empire began to worry that they might. The apology came as a box of cinnamon cookies. Not store-bought. Not fabricated. Homemade. That detail was important. Each cookie was still warm, sealed in carbon foam packaging with a simple note attached, written in standard and old Terran cursive. To the esteemed members of the Galactic Council, we regret the inconvenience. Sincerely, Earth. The box appeared on every council desk at the same moment. No courier, no drone. No security breach recorded. Sunval stared at it like it might explode. Sakra hissed and flung his across the chamber. It hit the far wall, crumbled. Ro's voice arrived next. Not via comlink, not via envoy. It simply filled the air, smooth, amused, far too calm for the context. Hope y'all try those before throwing, M. Would be a shame to waste butter that good. In every chamber, across 17 species embassies, the same voice spoke at once. And nowhere was there a speaker. I know y'all got your verdict, Ro said, conversational. But Earth's got a say in this matter. We're funny that way. We take interest when folks start messing with our children. Go figure. The council chamber rippled with tension. A few aides bolted for private terminals. They found nothing. Ro wasn't in the system. Y'all sentenced 2 kids. That was mistake number 1. But you also thought we'd beg. That's mistake number 2. Sakra slammed a claw onto the console. Find the source. No source, the text whispered. It's atmospheric. It's just here. On every surface in the chamber, the screens shifted. Stars. Real-time visuals of orbital bodies. The Galactic, 4 moon gone. No impact signature. No radiation. Just missing. See, we don't like war, Ro continued. Not really our thing. Too loud. Too messy. Makes grandmas cry. But we're damn good at it. A new screen opened. Harix 9's outer moon. A slow pan. Nothing left but swirling debris. A single boot floated through the wreckage. Ro sighed, as if saddened by it all. That one was a test. No one on it. We're polite like that. We give fair warning. The Galari ambassador collapsed into their seat, translucent skin paling to a ghostly hue. Sakra stood, roaring now. This is terrorism. Oh no, sir, Ro said gently. Terrorism is blowing up things to be noticed. We're tucking things away, so you'll shut up and listen. The lights flickered, just for a breath, then stabilized. The council ordered every system scanned. No signs of human fleets. No transmissions detected. The only remaining signal, a line of Terran folk music, playing on a loop through the auxiliary speaker channels. It wasn't angry music. It was something older, something warm. A grandmother's porch tune, if the porch overlooked Armageddon. In the Empire's Central Defense Command, Admiral Orlikson watched the chaos spread across reports like a virus. He was a military man, Shentari by species, methodical by nature. He had studied humans longer than most. He had warned the council. No one had listened. Now, his hands hovered over a dozen threat indicators that didn't blink red because they'd been erased before they could scream. They didn't use weapons, his second-in-command said quietly. They used absence. We underestimated them. No, we disrespected them. Orlikson stood, shoulders squared beneath the weight of realization. We need to talk to Ro. Back in his private chamber, Ro adjusted his tie and set the kettle on. Again, the sweet lights flickered, not from power failure, but from interference. Ro's doing. The children were gone. Not gone as in lost. Gone as in rescued. Whisper quiet operation. No alarms. No bloodshed. Just one Imperial guard asleep in a broom closet and 2 children now safely on a ship headed home. He didn't smile yet. Not quite. His assistant droid hovered nearby, visibly agitated. They know about the moons. Meant to. They've seen the message. Hope so. What now? Ro poured a cup, steam rising soft as breath. Now we let M stew in the silence. Nothing scarier than a human who ain't talking. The droid paused, calculating. Sir, what if they retaliate? They won't. How can you be sure? Ro looked up then, something ancient in his eyes. Because every empire built on pride dies the same way, arguing about who's to blame while the roof comes down. A new message came through. No encryption. No disguise. A single sentence. To Earth, this is an act of war. Return our moons, or face extinction. Ro forwarded the message to Earth Command. He added only one word. Proceed. Then, he brewed another cup. Across the galaxy, the second wave began, not with lasers or missiles, but with memory. Empire databases corrupted, then vanished. Entire communication grids returned to factory settings. Artificial intelligences reported emotional interference and went into lockdown. All signs pointed to Earth. But no one could find Earth's fleet. No one could find their diplomats. No one could find anything, because humans had stopped being seen. And the Empire finally began to panic. Orlikson entered the council chambers with his hands raised. "I request audience with the human," he said. Yel-Sakra hissed. "You request?" "Yes. Before we lose more than moons." "Don't be a coward." "No," Orlikson replied. "I'm a strategist. And we are losing." He connected his personal channel to Ro's last known signal. To his surprise, Ro answered instantly. "Well now," the ambassador said, "I was beginning to think y'all didn't want to chat. I'm offering parley." "That's so." "We wish to negotiate the return of imperial property." Ro took a slow breath. "Which property you mean? The children? Or the moons you claimed like settler thieves with a map?" Orlikson flinched. "Return the orbital bodies. Return our dignity first." A pause. "I speak on behalf of the council." "Then you'd best choose your next words very carefully." The line hummed. "We're willing to reduce the sentence," Orlikson said. "Let the children live." "They're already gone." "What? They left your custody 4 hours ago. Don't feel bad. We're real good at slipping through arrogance." Orlikson blinked. "Then why are you still here? I wanted to see what you'd do when you had nothing left to justify yourself but your pride." Another pause. "What do you want?" Ro finally sipped his tea. "Public acknowledgement that y'all tried to hang children for a crime y'all committed. I want y'all to own it. That's not possible." Ro leaned forward slightly, voice silk and steel. "Then more things will become impossible. Breathing, landing, sleeping without one eye open." Orlikson sighed. "You would bring war for this?" "We didn't bring war. Y'all built it. We just knocked politely before coming in." The line cut. The next morning, 17 systems woke to find their satellites orbiting upside down. No violence. No damage. Just a reminder. Gravity was still optional if Earth willed it so. And somewhere above the Imperial capital, a single ship decloaked, just long enough to be seen, then vanished again. It carried no weapons. No cargo. Just a banner. Y'all had your chance. Yel-Sakra called for emergency session. "This is psychological warfare," he roared. "This is monstrous." The Jelari ambassador finally spoke, first time in 2 days. "They warned us." The others turned. "They told us." In the initial Terran introduction, do you remember what their envoy said? Silence. Then a playback was summoned. The human voice from years before. A different ambassador. A different time. "If you try to harm our young, we will respond like any parent would. Decisively. Painfully. Without remorse." The room went quiet. Yel-Sakra whispered, "This is insanity." "No," Orlikson corrected, "this is grief. Channeled into engineering." He stood slowly. "We've shamed ourselves." Yel-Sakra turned. "You sympathize with them?" "I understand them." "That's worse." Later that day, another message arrived. Plain text. "No encryption. We will not warn again. You hang a child. We erase a system. Final offer. One public apology. Then we all go home. Otherwise, well, hope y'all ain't too attached to the stars." Ro stood at the window of his suite, hands behind his back. The tea had gone cold. He didn't mind. His eyes followed the stars. The assistant droid floated beside him, uncertain. "They won't apologize." "Nope." "Then what?" Ro smiled faintly. "Then the war ends before it starts." "How?" "Because they'll realize the truth." The droid tilted. "That they've already lost." The next vote was scheduled at dusk. A single item on the docket. Conditional clemency and human appeasement terms. Yel-Sakra stormed into the chamber 10 minutes late. He froze. 17 seats filled. Every ambassador present. Everyone silent. The vote passed unanimously, even his. And Earth's reply was immediate. A hologram. Ambassador O. Same smile. Same voice. Well now, look at y'all. Grow in hearts like spring flowers. He raised his cup. Y'all just bought yourselves another dawn. Then the signal cut. And, across 17 systems, the stars stayed in place. For now. The first ship appeared over Drell 9 at sunrise. Just one. Small, sleek, non-threatening, at least by visual scan. No weapon ports. No transmissions. It didn't move. For 12 minutes, it simply hovered there, as if waiting. Then, without warning, it fractured. Not exploded. Fractured, splitting itself into 24 thin silvery threads that danced like ribbons and slid through the Drellian atmosphere with the grace of smoke on wind. At first, the Planetary Defense Command thought it was a trick, a cloaking maneuver or test flight. Then the power grid went out. All of it. One by one, defense turrets went offline, backup reactors shut down, flight bays sealed mid-launch. Drell 9 didn't fall. It didn't explode. It just stopped. Entirely. As if some hand had reached into its belly and gently pressed pause. The message came 22 seconds later. No visuals. Just voice. Ambassador Rowe, calm and quiet. We asked nicely. You chose the rope. Now you get the reckoning. By nightfall, the Empire had lost 3 planets. Not in battle. Not in fire. Just gone. Silent. Cold. And still, Earth had not declared war. Not officially. Because there were no humans to face. Only aftermath. Admiral Orlikson stared at the holomap, fingers twitching above the interface. Red flashes bloomed across it like blood drops in water. His generals barked conflicting reports, some panicked, others grim. We can't locate the origin points. The enemy signatures mutate faster than we can trace them. There are no weapon trails. Just vanishings. Swarm tech. It's got to be. Micro-drone hives. But with intelligence we haven't seen before. Targeting logic is predictive. They're anticipating our defense shifts. Almost like they've run this war already. Orlikson finished. His voice didn't rise. It fell like an anchor into a dark sea. He opened a secure channel. Get me Rowe. Rowe answered before the first ring. Well, Admiral, how's the garden? Orlikson took a slow breath. You've crippled 3 systems in 12 hours. I gave y'all a chance. This is overkill. You're confusing clarity with cruelty. The Admiral's jaw flexed. What do you want? Rowe's smile was audible. Ah, there it is. I'll authorize surrender of the planetary nodes, partial custody, controlled de-escalation. No, no. You still don't get it. We don't want your land. We want your learning. We want that moment to burn into the root code of your culture. You don't hang children. Ever. Period. This ain't conquest. It's correction. This is madness. Call it manners. The line cut. In orbit above the gas giant Xer, 537 Imperial dreadnoughts hovered like titans, armed and layered in shielding. Their hulls shimmered with energy fields strong enough to shrug off meteor storms. The finest ships the Empire had ever made. At precisely 0200 Standard Time, they began receiving a sound. A lullaby. A human lullaby. Soft and southern. A woman's voice, aged and sweet. Go to sleep, little darling, go to sleep. The fleet captains tried to jam the transmission. Failed. Tried to trace it. Failed. Tried to shut down shipwide comms. Failed. Then the ships began to drift. No alarms. No explosions. Just drifting. Power cells reversed polarity. Navigation froze. Airlocks hissed open and closed like breathing. Entire fleets paralyzed without violence. A single word appeared across their systems in hand-drawn script. Mercy. By dawn, the ships were gone. Still there physically, but lifeless, floating husks. Thousands of crew in stasis sleep. Unharmed. Silenced. Forgotten. And Rowe issued no statement. That was the worst part. On the floor of the Galactic Council, Yel Sakra raged. We must retaliate. Activate the Sunbreakers. Use the forbidden protocols. We have no targets, said one ambassador. They're shadows. Then use scatterfire. And risk hitting our own? You're cowards. No, the Jalari delegate said softly, we are realists. All eyes turned. I read human history last night, they continued. Their last 3 wars. Do you know what I learned? Enlighten us, yelled Socraspat. They never start strong, but they always finish cruel. That same day, Orlic's son stood alone in the Imperial War Museum, a place once built to showcase triumph. Now it echoed with silence. Ro's image appeared on one of the inactive displays. No warning. Just a flicker, then clarity. Admiral, Ro said, I do like that room. You should dust it more often. What are you doing? Ending things. You've made your point. No, Ro said, voice flat now. You think this is about your pride. It ain't. It's about precedent. It's about what happens next time. We're not here to bargain. We're here to prevent future idiots from getting ideas. This is genocide by degrees. Not genocide. Surgery. Precision, Admiral. Like trim min rot before it spreads. I won't be your audience. You already are. The display faded. Somewhere near the edges of known space, the children watched from a secure room aboard a human cruiser. Benji sat cross-legged, coloring in a pad. The girl, Tama, watched the stars. Are they scared yet? She asked. A soft chuckle answered her. A tall woman in a red flight suit, braided hair tucked behind her ears. Terrified, she said. Your Uncle Harlan has a gift. Will he stop? Soon. When they've learned what it feels like. What does it feel like? Power. With patience. Tama didn't smile. Just nodded. Ro received a new message from the Empire's civilian governorate. It simply read, what must we do? He thought about it. Stirred his tea. Didn't answer. Not yet. Instead, he broadcast another message. Galaxy-wide. Untraceable. This time, it wasn't a threat. It was a story. He told of Earth's own past, of times when children were stolen, silenced, broken. Of wars started because someone assumed small lives were cheap. Of revolutions born in silence, sparked not by kings, but by kitchen table grief. He told them about a girl named Tama who watched her brother nearly die because someone thought it would be symbolic. He didn't raise his voice. He didn't curse. He just spoke like a grandfather who'd seen too much. And the galaxy listened. In the Imperial throne chamber, silence reigned. The Empress herself watched the transmission end, her long fingers tapping the side of her command chair. She was not a fool. She was raised on fear ruled by iron, but smart enough to know when she'd miscalculated. She turned to her advisors. I want a plan of full surrender. Not for strategy. For optics. We will make this look like mercy. And if they don't accept, they will. Why? She stared at the blank screen. Because they already won. They're just waiting for us to say it. Ro stood in the garden deck of his cruiser. The stars stretched quiet around him. His assistant droid hovered near. They're preparing formal surrender. I know. They want guarantees. They won't get M. The droid tilted. But we ain't conquerors, Ro said softly. We're reminders. Of what? That kindness has limits. Even ours. A pause. And when it ends, we don't shout. We don't roar. We smile. He took a deep breath. And we erase. The surrender came at dusk. Broadcast live. The Empress herself, face pale and still. She said the words with care. The Galactic Empire hereby rescinds all charges against the human miners, returns full custody, issues apology, and enters peace negotiations with Earth unconditionally. Ro watched the screen. Didn't react. Only said one line. Y'all finally learned the cost. Then, privately, to his fleet. Stand down. Every ship paused. And vanished. The council met in emergency session. Yel Sakra tried to protest. Was silenced. The rest voted unanimously to ratify peace. They asked Earth to sign a formal treaty. Ro sent one line in reply. Treaty follows truth. We'll wait. Orlikson met Ro face-to-face for the first time in 2 weeks. The human looked unchanged. Calm. Tired. You could have taken everything, the Admiral said. I still could. Why didn't you? Ro looked up, eyes dark as gravity wells. Because I ain't here to take. I'm here to make damn sure nobody else does. The stars blinked on. The ships drifted back to where they came from. Humanity didn't leave flags, didn't carve monuments, just silence and a memory, one the galaxy would whisper about for generations. They tried to hang human children, and Earth declared a lesson. Not war, just memory, sharp, burning, eternal. 1,000 dead ships, and one man smiling over tea. They held the final tribunal on a ruined world. Not one reduced to dust by fire or war, but one hollowed out from within, once imperial, once proud, now abandoned save for the wind and the shame. No banners, no ceremony, just a long stone table carved by human masons and alien engineers who had once believed they ruled the stars. Seated at the head, alone, was Ambassador Harlan Rowe. No guards flanked him. No weapons hummed at his side. He needed none. What he had was silence. And in this silence, entire fleets had died. Across from him sat the Empress of the Galactic Empire, not in robes of conquest, but a plain steel-gray uniform. She had not arrived with fanfare. Her personal guard remained in orbit. She came because she had no choice. She came because the game had ended, and she had lost. I expected more, she said, voice hushed. You expected us to be petty, Rowe replied, hands folded. But we ain't conquerors. We're librarians with shotguns. We remember. The stone beneath them bore old marks, names scratched by children who'd once played near the Empire's central archives. Names of children who'd been erased from records when rebellions were put down. Their ghosts watched now, not bitter, but patient. This isn't law, she said. It's revenge. No, Rowe said softly. This is history giving y'all the test after the lesson, and watching you fail. Above them, a single hollow drone hovered. It broadcasted across every Imperial channel, every outer colony. The people watched not because they were forced, but because they needed to see if the monsters in power could bleed. Rowe tapped a data crystal on the table. It flickered, then burst to life, revealing footage never meant for public view. The children's trial. Not the staged one, the real one. Footage hacked from deep security nodes. It showed guards laughing. It showed children shivering. It showed a council of 17 treating it all like a chess move. Then it showed the verdict. And silence. The Empress watched her own guilt scroll in flickering hologram light. Her jaw tightened, but she didn't speak. You gave the order, Rowe said. You signed off. Publicly, privately. You thought no one would notice. Thought we'd cower. Thought we'd be grateful to be allowed to beg. I made a decision based on data, she said at last. No, Rowe said. You made a choice based on the assumption that Earth wouldn't respond. You played a game and forgot we weren't pieces. You thought we'd trade lives for paperwork. The Empress stood then, slow, measured. I came here to end this. You already did, Rowe said. You just don't know what's ending yet. She stared at him, eyes sharper now. You want us to kneel? No. I want y'all to admit you were wrong. Publicly. I want your empire to put that shame in stone, to teach your young what happens when pride gets drunk and cruel. That's not peace. That's humiliation. He stood, finally. You hung 2 children out to dry. And if we hadn't intervened, y'all would have wrapped that rope twice just to make the execution cleaner. I gave the order, yes. Say it again. I gave the order. For what? She swallowed. To execute 2 human children. The words hung there. Not a whisper in the wind. Not a breath. The trees stood still. And now, Rowe said, Earth offers you its terms. He slid the data crystal forward. The terms were brief. Abolition of the Empire's sovereign right over judicial matters involving non-Empire species. Permanent removal of Yel Sakra and 6 other counselors from any position of intergalactic authority. Full release of internal files regarding sentient juvenile detainment procedures. An official planetary day of remembrance observed by all 17 member species. The day of the rope that burned back. The Empress stared at the list. You expect the galaxy to remember this over centuries. We will remind them, Rowe said. Politely. repeatedly, vividly. He turned and gestured. From the transport behind him, two figures stepped out. Benji and Tama. They were dressed in white, simple, crisp, untouched by the dust of war. They did not smile. They did not cry. They stood as witnesses. The Empress looked at them, and for a moment, she was no longer ruler of a galactic empire. She was just a woman who'd once decided two names didn't matter. "I can't undo what I did," she said quietly. "No," Rose said. "But you can spend the rest of your damn rule making sure it never happens again." Tama stepped forward. Her voice was soft, but it cut deeper than any blade. "You tried to make us disappear. I failed." "No. You succeeded. But we came back anyway." Benji took her hand. "I want the Empire to say sorry," he said. Eyes too old for a boy that young. Ro didn't move. Didn't speak. The Empress lowered herself to one knee. She looked at the children. "I'm sorry," she said. "I was wrong." The words weren't magic. They didn't erase what had been done, but they echoed across every screen, into every home. And in that moment, children across 1,000 worlds heard the apology that had never come for their pain. Ro watched it happen, not with triumph, but with closure. He turned to leave. "Where will you go?" the Empress asked. "Back home. Back to the kind of world that remembers hurt without making it gospel." She nodded. "Will we see you again?" "Depends," Ro said. "If you keep your promises, I'll be a ghost. If you break, I'll be the storm." He walked toward the shuttle. The children followed. Before the doors closed, Tama looked back once. "I hope your empire becomes something worth living in," she said. Then the doors sealed. The ship rose without a sound. Weeks later, a single stone monument was erected on that same world. No grand sculpture. Just a line carved in every known language. "We will never choose rope again." And beneath it, smaller, in Terran script, "Memory is mercy, and mercy remembers." In the shadows of quiet farms, in the kitchens of aging mothers, in the slow-turning classrooms on border planets, the story spread. The children who lived. The empire that kneeled. The ambassador who never raised his voice, yet felt fleets like autumn leaves. And the war that never had name, because Earth refused to glorify it. On Earth, in a modest cabin with a wraparound porch and an old rocking chair, Ro poured tea. It was raining. The smell of wet earth curled through the air. The children played on the grass, barefoot and free. His assistant droid hovered beside him. They called it a treaty. "It ain't one," Ro said. "Then what was it?" "Proof." "Of what?" Ro sipped his tea and watched the sky. "That humanity doesn't bluff. We warn, and we wait, and if need be we burn." He looked at the trees. "But mostly we just hope not to be needed." A pause. "They say your name with reverence now," the droid added. "You're famous. I ain't nothing but an old man with too much patience and just enough matches." He leaned back in the chair and exhaled. In the distance, thunder rumbled. Not a threat, just a reminder. And on 17 worlds, the children grew up knowing the names Tama and Benji Wells. They weren't heroes. They were survivors. And every year, on the day the rope burned back, bells rang. Soft, steady, like a heartbeat refusing to stop.